It's obvious that it, as most media, has made an impact on the world. But where did it start? Why is it so influential and dear to our hearts? Where is it going? It all started here. Doesn't look like much, right? A simple shot of workers exiting a factory. But this simple shot was all that was needed to spark off the rest of film's future. It was shot on a cinematograph by the Lumiere brothers, who invented the machine. It also functioned as a projector and was cranked by hand. The cinematograph was patented February 1895 and used a frame speed of 16 frames per second, whereas 24 frames per second became standard by the late 1920s with sound. The Lumiere brothers performed their first test and demonstration of their work on March 22, 1895, in their basement. Everyone was thrilled by it. They could see everyday occurrences happen on screen. Past happenings could be seen again. For a while, the only things filmed were natural happenings, simply documented as they were. However, people grew tired of watching what they themselves did every day. This sparked the plot as we know it today. Funny, thrilling, staged performances in front of the camera for the world to enjoy. This new leeway for creativity brought forward comedy, drama, and suspense into the film world. Even room for risque pieces like the May Irwin Kiss from 1896, shot in Edison's Black Maria studio. When you think about this clip as being too daring, it's easy to see how film has changed with time as to what is acceptable. Along with a change in film's content, film's purpose had taken many different roads. Industry giants picked up on its popularity and realized that film could be used for advertising.
What do you think doctors recommend most often? Milk of magnesia.
More importantly, the government found it useful for putting out public service announcements, and some found it to be the prime outlet for propaganda.
Socialism has spread the shadow of human regimentation over most of the nations of the earth, and the shadow is encroaching upon our own liberty.
So where does that leave us now? Sure, commercials' influence was to buy this or that, and PSAs inform us of the world we live in. But what truly impacts us in film? I interviewed a few people in regards to what films made an impact on their lives.
I like all the old horror classics, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Nosferatu, and Wolfman, Bride, Frankenstein, all the Universal classics.
Yeah, I can't really pick one individual piece. I'd have to say Pink Flamingos, because they really kind of push the limits, and I really admire John Waller's courage. When he, that's what I said, Walter. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, but John Waters, yeah, he's kind of a hero to me. This is bravery. And Jodorowsky, another director. Nope, Holy Mountain. People with some guts. Put some things in film that people generally don't want to see.
Biodome was great because it shows you can have a good time anywhere.
It's got Pauly Shore.
Hell yeah, I love Pauly Shore. Look at the weasels.
So there's a lot of movies that are amazing, but for my favorite movie, quote-unquote favorite movie, I always have to go with, purely for nostalgic reasons, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Because, well, growing up that was my favorite movie, and I've always loved it.
What movie has made a real impact on your life?
What movie? Honestly, I'm gonna say SLC Punk, because it makes you think that you can act however you want, but you're still gonna be part of like a group, and eventually you're gonna have to grow up. So I guess that kind of impacted me and helped me grow up a bit.
With some of those remarks, it's pretty easy to see how film has impacted people. But what about film's future? I interviewed both of the creators of a recently released film, Repo the Genetic Opera, Terrence Zudanich and Darren Smith, about their thoughts on the future of film and how their film is a stepping stone on that path.
Do you think that the way film is filmed will change?
If what?
If the way that film is filmed will change in years to come?
I think so, and I think it has to. I think just in the way that any intellectual property right now, it's all changing so rapidly for a variety of reasons, good and bad. But I mean, the fact is it is changing, and the good part of all that is that it really is fan-based. I mean, it is people almost using these movies as a canvas, so that it's, rather than being a finished result, it's almost like a jumping off point for people. So I think that's a really cool thing.
I mean, it's already happened. Yeah, I think the medium as we know it is already dying. And unfortunately, I think it's sad in the sense that great films as we know them, I think, won't really exist, because it's become such a, one, they're so expensive, it's such a conglomeration of money and interests. It's almost like politics now. I think with the fact that with the internet and probably the fact that movies won't really make money in the way that they did very soon, they're already feeling the threat of the sting of illegal downloads and such. I think it'll probably pave the way for some art form that we're not seeing yet, and I think that's exciting. But I think I will sort of agree with the fact that films like The Godfather, for example, probably will never be made again. But then again, Repo got made, and that's unlikely, right?
So what do you think about all of these shadow casts that are going on? Just, it's your movie being played over and over again.
Well, I love it. I mean, the coolest part to me is like to see how it's almost a year later, we're in more theaters than we've ever been all over the world. But more than that, these people are like bringing parts to the film that, you know, they're using their imagination to come up with their own backstory. And I really totally encourage it. I just want people to really, because everybody in this cast, especially in the Midnight Cinema, they did just a phenomenal job. They have so much creativity, each one of them. They have so much talent, and I just want to make certain that, you know, they use this source material as just like a jumping off point.
I mean, what artist wouldn't want to have their work memorialized in such a way, and in such a way that it's not just like somebody copying a painting you did, for example. It's somebody literally taking source material that you created and then adding their own elements to it and doing it, basically living and breathing it. So I think it's the best thing ever. I'm glad it's happening so quickly and that I get to actually sort of be a part of it.
And what about those fans of Repo? People who would wait in long lines for however long to witness a Q&A? Or start their own shadow cast? How has Repo really impacted their lives?
Why do I do the things that I do? Basically. Because Repo, there's something in it for everybody. You know, every character, somebody, or, well, I guess quite a few of the characters people can relate to. I particularly really like the character of Amber Sweet, and basically because she feels like she has to change, and I think that girls, you know, young girls, women, anybody can relate to that. You know, it's kind of like a bad example. Everybody wants to change at some point in their life, so the one line from the movie, "Remember you can change," that line did stick with me despite that.
Film has come a long way since its birth. Perhaps it will continue to grow and impact us as strongly as it does today.